Moving abroad is stressful. It can be a logistics nightmare, and it was very stressful for me.
You have a million things to do when you're getting ready to leave home, and another million things to do in your new home abroad once you get there.
But learning a new language does not have to be one of those stressors.
If learning a new language is not something that you want to undertake in retirement, we're going to share 10 popular expat destinations where you can move and speak English.
We got this information from an article on USNews and World Report titled, Best Places to Retire Overseas Where English is Spoken.
They only included 9 on their list, but we think one was a major oversight, so we've included it, although we might be a little biased.
Okay, we're going to start with number 10, and that is Georgetown, Malaysia.
Georgetown is located on Penang Island off the west coast of Malaysia in the Straits of Malacca.
A lot of you told us you love Malaysia because it is so affordable and it has a lot to offer.
Georgetown is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means it has a lot of cultural and historical significance, and it also has a lot of English speakers.
And Malaysia has a new digital nomad visa. For this visa, you need $24,000 in income a year, and it is valid for 12 months, and you can extend it for an additional 12 months.
Plus, they have a 10-year permanent resident visa, but the financial requirements are pretty steep. You need to have about $8,500 a month at current exchange rates in income, plus you have to put $213,000 in a bank account.
Georgetown is internationally known for its interesting architecture, its art, its murals, and its great food.
It's really well developed and has a solid infrastructure and a rich history that it was built around.
And there is beautiful scenery, high quality healthcare. It is a popular destination for medical tourism, and there is a large expat community.
Almost everyone in Georgetown speaks English, so that is one reason why it made this list.
There are a few downsides. The first being that it can be very expensive to get there, and it can take a really long time, of course, depending on where you're coming from.
It's also really hot most of the year. They have monsoons and flash flooding is common.
And they're also known to have bad traffic, and you're probably going to experience some culture shock.
Yeah, especially if you're coming from the US or Canada. It's a lot different, which means it might be important to learn some Malay, which is the local language that's spoken there. While English is common in Georgetown, anytime you get outside the city, you're not going to find as many English speakers.
Number 9 is Cyprus.
This island is located on the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea, just south of Turkey.
It was a British colony, so English is widely spoken, although islanders also speak Greek and Turkish.
It is a beautiful Mediterranean island, so what more could you ask for it? It has great weather.
Cyprus also has a digital nomad visa, which is good for 1 year. You need to show a minimum monthly income of $3,500 or euros per month. Right now, the exchange rate is 1-to-1.
They also have an investment visa. You need to invest at least 300,000 euros or dollars. That can be in property or other Cyprus investments.
Rumor has it, it may be the sunniest place in Europe, and it has incredible history and culture. That's a fact.
Yeah, that sounds pretty appealing to me. It's known for its high quality of living and good health care, and they do have open air markets where you can buy fresh fruits and veggies.
Yes, we do love that. Cost of living is lower than the United States and other European countries, which is also a big plus.
Cyprus is a safe country overall, but like everywhere else in the world, there are scams and pickpockets and thieves.
And they do have some issues with bureaucracy, and in areas the public transportation is lacking, so you will need to keep your patience, and you may possibly need a car at times.
And some of you may remember the banking crisis of 2013 when the government essentially confiscated money from depositors. That could happen again, so you might want to keep your money at home, safe at home in a bank that you trust.
Number 8 is Malta.
Malta is a beautiful archipelago with 5 islands in the central Mediterranean between Sicily and the northern African shore.
This country is very famous for its historical sites relating to the succession of rulers, including the Romans and the Moors. It's also got awesome beaches, you've got water activities, and of course, those lovely cafes.
You can get residency in Malta. It's called the Malta Permanent Residence Program, but you're going to have to be rich to do it. You have to renew it every 5 years. You need to have proof of 500,000 euros or dollars in capital, and you have to have property valued at 300,000 euros at least, or rent for at least $10,000 per year. Plus, you have to pay all kinds of government administration fees that are in the tens of thousands of dollars. So this may not be an option for most people. However, if you can float that boat, you can sail it all the way to Malta and live your dream life.
Yeah, it has the wonderful Mediterranean climate, and English is the primary language, and there are expats from all over the world.
Yeah, they have excellent health care, and you got the island living, plus you have all the culture and history with lots of arts and outdoor activities, and it's known for great food, plus it's very safe.
Perhaps the main drawback of Malta is qualifying for that visa, but you can come as a tourist, and it is very popular for tourists. However, that does mean it can get pretty crowded at times.
The cost of living is pretty reasonable as compared to other parts of Europe, but it is a bit more expensive than Cyprus.
And they have eliminated their citizenship by investment program, which is disappointing, but I think that was out of reach for most of us anyway.
Yeah, it certainly was for us.
Yes.
Number 7 is a little closer to home to U.S. Americans, and that is Barbados.
It is the easternmost island in the Caribbean and much closer to South America actually than Miami.
This used to be a British colony, so English is the primary language, and there are lots of people from the UK and US living in Barbados.
Barbados has a variety of visa options. As US citizens, we can go and stay on a tourist visa for 6 months. They also have a new 12-month live and work visa, which is essentially a digital nomad visa. And for that, you need to show $50,000 in income earnings per year or have the same amount of income in savings.
They also have 2 different types of retirement visas. Those over 60 with sufficient means, whatever that means, you can apply for a temporary residence visa. They also have what's called a special entry permit, which allows property owners to come and go as they please, provided they own property valued at $150,000 or more.
The capital of Barbados is Bridgetown, and it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
There is a lot of history in Barbados, a lot of culture and active nightlife. You can do water sports, and it has incredible beaches.
It also has arguably the best healthcare in the Caribbean.
You can live the island dream, but that does come with a price tag.
Yeah, and that is one of the drawbacks. The cost of living in Barbados is higher than that of the United States because Barbados is known as the island for luxury living. They have a lot of high-end homes, high-end shopping. It is not as affordable.
The flights from Miami take about 4 hours, a little less than that, and they're really expensive. I looked them up online, not cheap. And also, you've got hurricanes to contend with. They're kind of getting worse lately, and they're heading right toward those Caribbean islands.
Number 6 is Ireland.
This is located in the North Atlantic off the coast of England and Wales, and U.S. Americans love the Irish culture, and of course, Guinness beer, it's my favorite.
It is an extremely popular country for tourists and expats or immigrants.
Ireland has a retirement visa. You need to have a minimum yearly income of 50,000 euros, which is $50,000 right now. You also need to have additional funds to cover unexpected expenses.
The great thing about Ireland is that it's got the incredible culture, the folklore, which is just fascinating, and it is beautiful. It is known as the Emerald Isle because it is so green and lush.
It's also really safe and peaceful. It has great public transportation and affordable health care for permanent residents.
However, Ireland can be more expensive, the cost of living can be higher, and rents can be higher compared to some of the places in the United States.
You also have to contend with the weather. It's often gloomy and rainy. It's quite chilly in the winter time. And the version of English they speak doesn't always sound like English to the rest of us.
However, I'm guessing that's what they say about our English.
Especially yours, Amelia.
Yes, I know. If the idea of learning a new language does not appeal to you, then you probably don't want to be stressing out about your money either.
But one of the most important parts of moving abroad has to do with balancing your time and money.
But if you find the right investments, your money can work for you while you're out exploring your new city.
Or going for a romantic stroll on the beach.
Or eating at local restaurants.
Alternative assets like contemporary art have a very low correlation to traditional investments. So when the value of stocks goes down, art typically doesn't.
The really wealthy invest in art because they know it's a great buy and hold investment, but they have millions of dollars to spend.
And that's what makes today's sponsor, Masterworks, so amazing.
They buy paintings from legendary artists like Picasso and Banksy and divide them up into shares for you to add to your portfolio.
Then when one of those paintings sells, you get your potential profit.
Even firms like Morgan Stanley have been talking about art because it has a near zero correlation to other investments.
Of course, past performance is no guarantee of future results. However, they did just recently sell a painting for 17.8% net return.
Yeah, it's the 7th painting they've sold for over 17%.
They have over 530,000 members on their platform and so much interest that they now have a wait list, but you can skip the wait just by clicking the link in the description below.
And now back to our list. Number 5 is the Algarve, Portugal.
This is located on the southwest tip of the European continent and on the southern end of Portugal, so you're going to find some better weather there than in some of the other parts of Europe. Portugal also has a new digital nomad visa. You just need to earn $3,000 per month in income from working online. You can also get their D7 visa, and for that you need a minimum of $760 per month in passive income, not from working.
They also have the popular Golden Visa, which requires an approximate $500,000 investment, but there are some restrictions for buying property, so you cannot buy in Lisbon or Porto. Plus, there is some pressure from the European government to eliminate this visa altogether, so we'll see what happens.
Healthcare in Portugal is state-of-the-art and a lot less expensive. Procedures range from 50 to 70% less than the United States, and there are public and private insurance options.
Portugal has been known to be very family-friendly for a long time. That's one of the reasons why it is so popular. It's also very affordable, especially compared to other countries on this list and other parts of the United States.
You don't need a car, and they have really good public transportation that can take you to those incredible beaches in the Algarve region, and they have about 14 hours of sunshine in the summer.
Yeah, and there's so much you can do in the Algarve region. There's lots of outdoor activities, including boating and golf, and they are known for their fine dining.
Even though a lot of people speak English in the Algarve region, it's probably still a good idea to learn some Portuguese just so that you can communicate more effectively and respect the locals, and also just to improve your overall quality of life. But Portuguese is pretty difficult.
Number 4 is Belize.
This is located in the Caribbean, bordering southern Mexico. It's about a 3-hour drive from Cancun. It is not an island like a lot of people think, although it does have some islands.
Yes, you do have the island style living, more Jimmy Buffett style.
In terms of visas, Belize does have the Belize Retired Persons Incentive Program. That's a tongue twister. But you don't even have to be retired to qualify for it. You have to just be at least 45 years old, earn $2,000 per month in income, or $24,000 per year.
Belize is a pretty small country. There's only around 400,000 people living there.
And the cost of living is quite a bit lower than the United States. Local stuff like food and fruits and veggies are a lot cheaper, and it's only 2 hours flight to the US.
Belize does have their own dollar, but it is pegged to the US dollar, which means their currency is not going to fluctuate as much as some other countries.
It is a tropical climate, so it's hot and humid, but you also have the beach and the jungle to enjoy. You also have that awesome barrier reef that's just off the coast. It's great for snorkeling and scuba diving.
Yeah, and I didn't know that there's a lot of Mayan history in Belize. It's also a very laid-back culture, and what's great is you have 12 hours of daylight. We really like that living in Ecuador. You do have 2 seasons, wet and dry, so if you're not a fan of wet, you may not like Belize. The dry season is November to May, so it's basically the wet season half the year.
Some of the drawbacks of Belize are it can be very buggy. It is in a tropical climate, and they do get hurricanes.
Imported goods can be more expensive as well.
Healthcare can be lacking in Belize, which is why a lot of retirees from the US keep their Medicare coverage. So if they need something major, they can go someplace else and get that done.
But they are making improvements to their healthcare system, and they do have public and private facilities available.
Number 3 is Boquete, Panama.
Panama is as far south as you can go in Central America and just north of Colombia.
Boquete has been popular with expats for a really long time. It's nestled in the mountains of northern Panama.
And they have a lot of visa options as well. They have a digital nomad visa, which is good for 9 months. Plus, you can get an extension on that. You just have to show that you are earning $36,000 a year.
They also have a retirement visa called the Pensionado visa. You just need to be 18 years old and provide proof that you receive monthly income of at least $1,000.
Panama has a relatively low cost of living and good health care.
And it's closer to the US than some of the other places on our list.
Yeah, the international airport in Panama City is fantastic because it will take you all over the world.
Panama is also pretty safe, and it is also on the US dollar, so that means you don't have those currency fluctuations either.
And they have good infrastructure, although I do hear that they have power outages occasionally.
There are benefits and discounts for retirees. You'll find in Latin America that they respect and honor their tercera edad, or third generation.
But they're also really welcoming to digital nomads. I think that they've been on the digital nomad bandwagon for quite a while.
Boquete is only at 4,200 feet in elevation, so it's a bit lower than some of the other higher elevation places. There are lots of expats, so it has an established expat community.
Boquete is located in the mountains, so it is cooler, especially compared to Panama City. And it's only an hour to David by car, which has an airport, and it's Panama's third largest city.
Some of the downsides of Panama is that they've had recent political protests, similar to what we've had here in Ecuador, where people closed the roads and were protesting different things that they didn't like about their government.
Yeah, and the weather can be a drawback. They do have a pretty long rainy season, which can last about 6 months, although you will avoid some of the major rain living in Boquete.
They also have quite a lot of bureaucracy in Panama. You're going to find that in Latin America in general. And it's still pretty much a cash society, although thanks to the pandemic, a lot more places are taking credit cards now.
And even though there are a lot of English speakers in Boquete, everywhere else in Panama, you're going to be hearing a lot of Spanish, so it is in your best interest to learn some of the basics in Espanol.
Boquete is a pretty small town too, and it is lacking some services, and there's no airport there.
Number 2 on the list is Ajijic, Mexico.
We just visited Ajijic and recorded several videos there. It's located an hour south of Guadalajara and about 30 minutes south of the Guadalajara airport.
It's in central Mexico in the mountains at about 5,000 feet.
It is a beautiful, peaceful lakeside town with perfect weather. I think I said peaceful a dozen times when we were there in that first video.
I think I said wow like 1,000 times during our first 2 videos.
You can get visas there, but it's not as easy as it used to be. They got rid of their perpetual tourist visa. Now you pretty much just get a stamp for as long as you plan on being in the country. You can apply for a temporary visa. It's 300 times the minimum wage, which is approximately $2,500 a month, or you can have $42,000 in the bank. And these amounts vary based on the consulate that you go to.
We had a friend refer to Mexico as America Light, and I would have to agree with that statement. So this could be a positive or a negative thing depending upon your point of view.
In Ajijic, you're going to find beautiful views, perfect weather. It's basically the same year round, although they do have a wet season that's about 3 or 4 months long, where it rains slightly more than the rest of the year. It's sunny and warm most of the time.
And there is a very vibrant expat community with a lot of English speakers.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant and everyone in there spoke English, including the people that worked at the restaurant.
And speaking of restaurants, we were so impressed with the variety and the quality of food. So if you are a foodie, you are going to love Ajijic.
It's also more affordable than parts of the U.S., although Ajijic is more expensive in general than some of the other popular areas in Mexico.
They have good, affordable health care. There is a lot of different things to do, and it is great that it is so close to that Guadalajara International Airport.
Some of the downsides are, I guess, depending on your point of view, there are a lot of expats in Ajijic. They're estimated it's about 50% of the population.
Yeah, and the cost of housing has increased, especially since the pandemic, because just like other parts of the world, people are leaving the cities and moving out to the country, so they are driving up those prices.
Crime has also increased. We heard quite a few stories about that, so that's a concerning development.
And I was surprised by how buggy it was. I got lots of mosquito bites, and we saw these really big giant wasps, and there were lots of ants. There were just more bugs than I was anticipating.
And the lake is also believed to be polluted, although we did some research online and saw that some of the recent tests show that it's not as bad as it used to be, and maybe not as bad as what people perceive it to be.
Number 1 on our list, and we may be biased, is Cuenca, Ecuador.
Ecuador is located in South America, just below Colombia, and Cuenca is located in south central Ecuador, nestled in the Andes Mountains.
It is such an amazing city. It's an old world city with modern amenities, and it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Ecuador has a ton of visas. In fact, I think Ecuador may be the easiest place to move to as an expat. They have a visa basically that would fit pretty much anyone, including retirement visas. They have a new digital nomad visa, a professional visa, which is what we have, and Amelia's on a dependent visa. They have visas galore.
Yeah, we could do a whole other video on visas. And actually, I think we have.
So with that UNESCO World Heritage Rating, you get a lot of really cool old buildings and architecture, tons of history. Right inside Cuenca, you're going to find the Inca ruins in Pumapungo.
There's a large expat community. They're very supportive, and they have a lot of expat-oriented activities, so you're going to fit right in.
It's also great for foodies. The restaurant scene in Cuenca is amazing. It is world class. You're going to find all different kinds of cuisines, and it's plated beautifully, tastes amazing. It's a great place to go out and eat.
Cuenca is also close to Cajas, which is great for hiking. You can go bird watching. You can just hike along the rivers in Cuenca. There is so much to do. You can even take a Zumba class.
And they have the best and most affordable healthcare in all of Ecuador. And Ecuador has pretty good healthcare in general, at least for the private, the public struggling a bit. But private healthcare is amazing here.
It does have a regional airport. I know they call themselves an international airport, but they are not. But you can fly to Quito, and it only takes about 45 minutes.
And now for the drawbacks, and the biggest one is the elevation. Well, at least for me, it's at 8,400 feet. The air is very thin. It's hard to breathe up there, and you might have some difficulty adjusting to that.
The weather can also be a drawback. It can be chilly a lot, especially in the cold morning hours, in the cold evening hours, and it can be rainy anytime throughout the day or night.
Yeah, you're gonna need lots of blankets on the bed. We used to watch television bundled up in our outdoor clothes with blankets, and I even wore a stocking cap to cover up the dome.
And we had a big giant heater.
Noise is also a major factor in Cuenca, as we talk about that in a lot of our videos. It's a noisy city. In fact, Ecuador in general is a noisy country.
Yeah, and unfortunately, crime is on the rise in Cuenca and honestly throughout Ecuador. It's really unfortunate, but there's been a lot of stuff happening ever since the pandemic, and we're seeing an increase in petty theft and in some robberies and other types of crime as well.
Let us know in the comments if you have a favorite country from this list, and if you enjoyed this video, we think you're gonna like this one next.
Choosing a country or city where English is widely spoken might be appealing to you.
However, we always recommend learning at least some of that local language to make your life a little easier, and also out of respect to the locals.
That's all we have for this video. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and leave us a like, and we'll see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.